morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. I think the first time in a week, I'm going to say at least for right now, we don't have a record high gold price. We'll see. The day is not over. It has been just a wild morning. We're starting to hear more from Scott Bassett, the new Treasury Secretary. Different, obviously, than Janet Yellen, the lunch lady, but not, unfortunately, a lot of the same things, which is we have way too much debt. And, oh, by the way, we just got to try to figure out how to keep the 10-year note from going crazy, right? That's the new thing now. Forget about lower rates. Think about what he just said. Forget about it. We're not going. Donald Trump wants the rates to go down, but he's no longer going to yell at Jay Powell to cut rates. That was the message from the Treasury today. We're not doing that. No, we'd like them to be lower, but we're not going to demand rate cuts. But somehow, some way, we're going to figure out a way. We're going to try to keep that 10-year note from going nuts, right? So how do you do that? Well, it's really simple, really. You do what Janet Yellen was doing. Hey, all the new stuff we got to sell, let's just sell short term. 2-year, 3-year, right? 1 year, 5-year. Load up on the short term. I mean, that's always just a recipe for disaster. But the Bank of England today, they cut rates. Huge warnings out of England about the size of their debt. Stagflation. Believe it or not, listen to this. They had 2 of their Fed members. They wanted even bigger cut than the 20. They wanted to go 50 basis points. The problem is what England is saying is, listen, hey, sorry, we know we shouldn't. Think about this. We're worried about stagflation. But yet we're cutting rates. And, oh, by the way, we really know we need to cut rates even more, but we're just too afraid to do it because of how much inflation is going to be unleashed. I mean, how far are we? Are we going to end up, now I'm being a little facetious here, but could you imagine, do we need armored cars to deliver eggs to supermarkets? I mean, is that where we're at? I mean, it is absolute insanity in the egg market. I don't know if someone stole 100,000 eggs. I mean, that's just a lot of eggs to steal. I mean, I don't know. I guess the black market on eggs now is a real thing. Everybody I'm talking to, it's $10 plus for a dozen eggs. And it's almost like the stores are like, hey, here's what we got today, right? Buy this or buy nothing at all, because that's all there is. It is, I'll tell you what a crazy environment we're in. And this is why when we see what gold's been doing, look at what silver's been doing, more worries about the vaults in London being emptied out, a huge premium in New York. So it's really simple. Everyone's like, well, wait, if I can buy in London and sell it in New York, I can make big money. The problem is now London is, they're almost crying uncle now, just readily admitting, okay, guys, it's going to be 8 weeks and not sure where the supplies, they're never going to tell us. But obviously a huge concern in the marketplace about how much gold is really left that isn't owned by somebody else. 800-951-0592. That is our toll free number.
I got a comment, Joe, about eggs real quick. Sure. About eggs.
Yeah.
You know, anybody, I don't eat meat. I don't, or maybe occasionally I'll have some, but I don't eat meat. But I understand it. I used to eat tons of it. And I heard with the eggs, Joe, one of the reasons, even though it's different chickens when it comes to eating chickens versus eggs, but there's still only so many chickens. Chickens being overbought, and so there's less egg layers because people can't buy beef, right? So if, you know, how many times you said on the air, if you go to the cheaper meats, well, the chickens being overbought, and so there's less egg layers, and so that creates, on top of the regular inflation, less ability to produce.
Yeah, and it's, you know, bird flu and everything else.
Bird flu, all that other stuff. Yeah,
I don't. How did we get here? Well, this is what this is what money printing does. It really does. You know, people don't want to connect that. Oh, it's just bird flu. No, it's not. It's not just bird flu. Like Jason said, it's a lot of different factors, but the predominant factor in all of this is they've printed way too much money, and now I will say this: I do like what I'm hearing from Bassett as far as I think he's being very honest that, okay, now that I'm here, now that I'm looking at it, yeah, we cannot. I mean, he essentially is giving Jay Powell permission not to cut rates, which really tells me that they already know the wave is coming. The next wave of inflation is coming. And how do we get around it? I don't know. How do we keep the 10-year note? You know, like I said, you know, we were talking about, can the 10-year go to 5%, 6%, 7%? They're going to try to stop that from happening by loading up on short-term debt. Yeah. We tried that the last time. It didn't work very well. Now, so much debt is rolling over, right? Yeah, it's causing problems everywhere. What could go wrong? We'll be back after the break. Oh, boy. 800-951-0592. Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. Listen, we're going to get to the Hunt Brothers and silver as promised. But first, there's more breaking news out of the Bank of England. And also from Scott Bassett and what he had to say, not only about, debt. It's a problem. We're going to try to figure it out. We gotta somehow keep the 10-year note from going nuts. But we can't lower rates. I mean, he didn't say can't. Okay, he didn't say that. But he just said that Donald Trump and him no longer need the Fed to cut rates, or saying for the Fed to cut rates, because they can't, right? I mean, this is what he's saying. Understand what he's saying. But then I think the big thing, and this is what, you know, at one point I was hoping today was going to be the big a sell-off. We need a sell-off. We need new higher lows, right? And gold was down like $30. It ain't anymore. Why? Well, one of the biggest things that he had to say had to do with tariffs. By the way, no new news about any calls with China. So this is what I thought. I thought this was going to happen. Already Ford saying it's going to cause big problems for us. Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein now, right? We're going to hear it all. They were hoping this was going to go away. But let me tell you what he had to say when in regards to tariffs. U.S. tariffs will be back. So Canada, Mexico, and China, and here's what he said. And I'm not just talking about Canada, Mexico, and China. We are going to be introducing tariffs globally. And again, I think this is something that everybody better pay attention to, because the head of the Bank of England Okay, so remember, we started the show. England lowered rates today. At the same time said, man, we got stagflation. And at the same time, a bunch of their guys were like, man, we need to lower rates 50 basis points, not 20. We got to go even bigger. This is the trouble everybody's in, because everyone needs to figure out how can we grow out of it. Here's what he just said. Even if the UK is not a direct recipient of tariffs imposed by the United States, it will have a great effect. And unfortunately, I don't see how we are going to avoid them. In other words, the Bank of England's Jason more or less saying, get ready. The United States is letting the world know tariffs are coming everywhere. And on that same note, our favorite Speaker of the House, Mr. Johnson came out and said the extending the Trump tax cuts are stuck in the mud. We don't have the votes. We don't have the money. And Jason, the only way I see that they can get the money, right, is these tariffs are coming. And I think Canada and Mexico, I think in 30 days here, everybody better be ready for a 10% tariff on Canada and Mexico. And then get ready. Europe is on the clock now. They're going to be next. And, Jason, I think this is going to drive gold prices even higher. We saw Citigroup, UBS, JP Morgan. Pretty much every bank in the world just raised their gold forecast. And it's so funny. These guys are so clueless. They were like, well, gold's going to be $2,800 in 2025. All of a sudden today, they're all saying 3,000. Jason, that's a pipe dream. It's going well above that number.
Right, and how many times have you said the dollar is the cleanest shirt in the dirty clothes basket, right? Listen, as much as we're going to say de-dollarization is a big deal, that's something that's happening. Unfortunately, foreign holding, and this is probably pretty much the whole world, but the foreign holding of U.S. Treasuries is at record highs. It's been going up every month for the last, I think, several years. So these countries that are going to have tariffs against them are also needing dollars for liquidity in their markets, and it's going to become harder to have those dollars if they're having to pay out in tariffs. Well, it's a tax against countries that need to hold dollars and use dollars. So this looks like on its face that America is just trying to scrape whatever they can off of a really bad world economy, Joe.
Well, and again, this is going to put pressure. Like they said, listen, China's been selling treasuries. Japan's been selling treasuries. Our European allies, they've been buying them. Listen, profits from business has been great, so they've been buying too. Let's not kid ourselves. They've been buying. But now they're going to be pressured. We need to grow our economies. We may be forced to do what China and Japan are doing. We may be forced to sell these treasuries. And I think this is why Scott Bessent is so worried about the 10-year note and saying, hey, forget about cutting rates. We want the rates to go down, but we're more worried about how can we control the 10-year note. That worries me, because if that's really the focus, how high do they think the 10-year note was going to go that they've decided that, hey, this is what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to do everything we can not to have that 10-year note go higher. And how do you do that? Well, you don't make the 10-year note auctions have a lot in them, right? You want big demand because there's little amounts, which means you got to load up on all the other kind of debt, Jason. And that's really, I think, what we're going to see.
Well, and the 20-year touched on 5%, didn't it? Very, very briefly, didn't it? Yep. And one of the reasons I'm bringing up that there's foreign holders of about a year ago it was 7.7 trillion. Now we're at almost 8.7 trillion. So the foreign holdings are growing. And Joe, let's just say for you guys that are silver customers, you have your junk silver, you have your silver rounds, you have your bars, and if you're somebody that has to sell, you start selling the lower end stuff first. These other countries hold other currencies. But if they're going to sell off currencies, as Joe said, they may not sell the dollars off first, right, Joe? They may be selling off whatever else you're holding, and when it comes to this stuff, so the dollar being the cleanest shirt in the laundry basket, maybe that's why, Joe, we're still seeing higher amounts of foreign holdings in dollars, because if you're going to sell to try to balance your book, so to speak, you'll probably sell the dollars less. So if we see a dollar sell-off worldwide, there's your depression. There's your huge collapse worldwide.
Yeah, I think the more of this is going to be, wait a minute. If I sell euros, I'm going to get less. Right? I sell pounds because these currencies are so weak now. If I sell dollars, look how much more I'm going to get. Like right now, you want to travel to Europe? It's a great time to do it. Why? Because it's almost at parity with the dollar. Right? So you're almost getting dollar for dollar. I mean, think about it. There's been, at one point, the euro was like $1.40, right? You needed $1.40 for €1. Same thing with the pound, right? The pound, I mean, it's like $1.20. It's very close. And so what I worry about is these countries are desperate. They're desperate. And how do they maximize value? It may be, God, we can't keep selling the dirty shirts because the dirtiest shirts aren't worth nothing, right? They're not worth enough. We may have to go to the dollar. It's going to be interesting. I don't know how all of this is going to shake out, but it really was a lot of economic talk from the Bank of England and then, of course, from our Treasury today that has really kind of gotten the market very, very, very nervous, and especially now the UK saying tariffs are probably coming here. Jason, I think this is going to signal even more of these vaults emptying out, the gold vaults in England emptying out. They did send out, they tried to calm the markets earlier this week by saying, hey, it's not that bad, everything's fine. That changed dramatically. Bloomberg, talking about lease rates exploding and that the gold stored at the Bank of England continuing to trade at a discount over the Trump tariffs and a major rush for physical bullion. The surge in demand now, weeks-long withdrawals delay, making the Bank of England gold reserves less attractive than the metals stored in commercial vaults. So now they're even saying, listen, the London Exchange here, we got a problem, right? The problem is everybody thinks it's going to be tariffed, and so they're saying, hey, it's not as valuable. We're going to have to pay more for it, and consequently, people are like, wait a minute, I can get it for how much less? Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. Give it all to me. And all of these withdrawal requests, they're saying now, listen to this, 8,000 metric tons of withdrawal requests. They don't have that. That I can tell you they don't have. Word on the street that I had was they had about 5,000 tons. So if Bloomberg is correct, that withdrawal request coming out of London is locked up now, that they don't have any enough of it. This is going to create a major problem. I don't know. Bloomberg's a pretty reliable source, and really what I'm looking at is when it comes to gold prices, these lease rates. Hey, I'm going to lease some of this gold. And these are guys, let's face it, hey, I don't have any plan on taking it, right? I just want to make some money. And I'm going to lease this gold. The lease rates have absolutely exploded out of London. And I'm talking about a number that we haven't seen. Maybe, I know I've been doing this over 20 years. I have never seen it so high. So essentially, they're doing everything they can to try to say, okay, from now on, anybody that wants gold from us, you better be taking delivery. And Jason, it looks like enough people are saying, yeah, I'm going to take delivery, but these lease rates have absolutely exploded here today. It really is becoming one of those storms that we weren't anticipating. And then, of course, the Bank of England today lowering rates, should have lowered it by more, saying that stagflation is here, and oh, by the way, we can't avoid U.S. tariffs.
Sounds like a situation where they need more deliverable bars coming from smelters across the country to from these distributors that are melting everything that's not nailed down to the ground.
Well, listen, Jason, you can tell people this, right? We're hearing everywhere. Gold is going to the smelters at a level we have never, ever seen before. Same thing with silver. They're melting down. Heck, Jason, we've heard reports they're melting down gold eagles right now. That's how desperate things have gotten. We'll be back after the break.
Hello.
800-951-0592. We're going to shift gears here. I know we're going to do the Hunt Brothers. We just too much happening today. We'll move that to tomorrow. For those of you that really want to do, I apologize, but there's too much stuff that we need to go over today. So we'll focus on the Hunt Brothers tomorrow. And again, maybe Monday. I don't know. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But right now, the Dow's down 100 points. The S&P's up 10. The Nasdaq's up 30. The 10-year note higher today. 445 right now. Crude oil's higher today. Gold, what a ride. Gold has been on a 1 point today. Gold was down almost $40. It's going to be a great day to buy the dip. Got all the way back down 28.30. So 28.30 is now our new higher low. But right now, gold 28.60. Silver 32.12. Really not doing a whole lot today, as a lot of breaking news from the U.S. Treasury Department essentially saying, get ready. Tariffs are coming, and we're not just talking about Mexico, Canada, and China. So it gives you a good indication that here at the beginning of March, it looks like Canada and Mexico, there's going to be a number. What that number is going to be, I don't know. Probably somewhere 5-10, probably 10% would be my guess, but we'll have to wait and see on that. There was a story about a potential ceasefire in Ukraine. The Daily Mail, for what it's worth, saying that what they're saying the Trump peace plan is, I don't know, this would be a tough one for Ukraine to accept, but Trump's allegedly now, Ukraine will remove itself from the Kursk region of Russia. They will no longer be allowed to join NATO. They will essentially give Russia the territory that Russia wants on the Donbass, and Crimea officially will become part of Russia. And, oh, by the way, we'll need to pump in about $500 billion over the next 10 years to help reconstruct Ukraine. So now that $500 billion, he's going to ask Europe to help, but this is what they're saying that the plan would be, and hoping that they could have a ceasefire in April and maybe a deal done, sometime in that Easter, April, Easter to May time frame. I don't know, but hey, I'm for that, right? I put my hand up. I don't know how Ukraine would feel about that. It pretty much sounds like, hey, we're going to give Russia everything we want, and we'll give you money to rebuild, but we'll see how that unveils. By the way, workers now accepting the buyout. They have till the end of the day today. It's now to 40,000. Just to let you know, they wanted 200,000, so we still got a ways to go here. But we'll know if this is good or not. We'll start looking. By the way, jobless claims 219,000, a little. That's nothing. Didn't show anything here or there. We'll get the government jobs number tomorrow. That'll be an interesting number. But if you could fire or buy out 200,000 government employees and not hurt employment, not hurt the stock, but not hurt the economy, that will tell you, man, we were really overbloated. The problem is, how much can you cut before it starts having an effect on labor and jobs and companies here in the U.S.? At least right now, Jason, we won't know that number, but 40,000 are going to accept them. Of course, get in a buyout, they're going to get a big check. But we'll see how much spending the Trump administration can try to squeeze out here, because Johnson today saying tax cuts look dead in the water unless they come up with a lot more money from somewhere, Jason.
And did Trump want to buy out 200,000 employees, or was it 2 million? I thought it was 2 million. I can't remember.
No. There are 200,000 there's over 2 million government employees. So you can't fire everybody, but they were hoping that 200,000 or 10%, I believe, was the number. And of course, well, they're saying that 40,000 is 2%, so I think that's right. Yeah. So 40,000, if you got there, yeah. They were hoping for 200,000. Right now they're at 40,000. So a long way off. Yeah, the Trump administration was hoping for up to 10%, would accept the offer. Right now we're at 40,000. They got to the end of the day. They were hoping to get about $100 billion. If they get, let's just say we get another 10,000, right? And then, maybe they're going to come up with 25 billion, right? Not 100 billion. So this is kind of the problem. None of the Doge stuff, none of that's been enough money yet. I did hear a report today. They're now looking at Medicare and Medicaid. That's the new where Musk and his guys are working now. I don't know. Hopefully they can find $100 billion, $200 billion. But I my guess is they'll find some, but nothing along that magnitude. And I think this is why you heard Bissett say tariffs are coming and coming for everybody.
It looks like it was offered to 2 million employees.
Yes,
I don't know
yes. Offered to 2 million. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
and
that sounds right.
In theory, if half of them wanted to do it, they would liquidate 1 million employees. So it's a possibility.
They didn't get that.
So today,
right.
Today's the due date, I guess, right? Today's the date to make the decision.
End of the day today, yeah. So it jumped from, it was 20,000. So they're up to 40,000. But like I said, they're going to be well short of where they were hoping to be. And again, I think that's, now does that mean, are we going to then start firing employees? That I don't know, right? I mean, if they get to this point where, hey, we've got to somehow find $100 billion, Jason, that may end up happening. They may say, okay, only 50,000 of you took the buyout. We're going to fire 150,000 federal employees. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
No
but so far, a little bit disappointing on those numbers. But tomorrow we'll get the jobs numbers and a whole bunch of more. I'm sure a whole bunch more people talking about tariffs. Patriot Radio News Hour. right back after the break. 800-951-0592. We've got $20 gold still here at $28.95. We still got 3 packages left of the 10-ounce silver bar. If you buy 5, at $28.95. We'll throw in a 10-ounce silver bar. So it'll be $14,475. If we have to ship to you, I'll throw in the shipping too on that, by the way. So we've got 3 of those still left. Get in here. Are you figuring it out? Can you tell by the sound of my voice what's happening? By the way, man, it's everything happening so fast. Terrible news. Calvin Klein, Tommy Hilfiger, basically PVH Corporation. The trade wars are heating up here. So China just put it on its unreliable entities list. When you go on that list, essentially China makes you shut down. Period. That's what it looks like it's going to be doing as early as Tuesday, saying that the company has been blacklisted, saying that their refusal to buy cotton from that detention area where China's having problems with the Muslims, but it gets worse here. They're saying that in addition to having to shut their stores down in China, which accounts for like 16% of all of their profits, the fear is China may force them to shut down its manufacturing, which I don't know how you can recover from that. And then on top of that, which I did not know, apparently they're headquartered in Hong Kong, and they don't know if China is going to enforce those laws in Hong Kong as well. And right now China's saying, hey, we're going to deport all of the foreign workers that work for these companies. Jason, again, this is something where I think we're going to hear a lot more about trade problems brewing, not just in China, but everywhere. And this is going to become a big problem.
Yeah, economies are not doing good anywhere. There's really no economy we can look at and say, well, that country's doing really well. Is there any country, Joe, that we could point at? I don't think there's a country we can point at and say that country's doing really well right now. And China's one that they like to hide their problems, don't they, Joe? So, how bad is China? And I think China's really bad right now, Joe.
Yeah, and it's tough because we don't know, right? We're left to guess. We're left to speculate. And now news that China is starting to flex its muscle back here. And then this just breaking again. So TikTok, right? So TikTok. Trump gave them an extra 75 days. Waiting for a green light from Beijing for some type of sale. It looks like now the Chinese government says, yeah, no deal. It will not be for sale. So, Jason, I don't know, but it definitely looks like the trade wars are really starting to heat up here. And it's going to be, I don't know how all of this plays out, but again, like I said, I don't see anything anywhere about China in the U.S. even talking right now. When it comes to that, they were supposed to have some form of a phone call, which we were hoping was going to be, like a China-Mexico thing. Everybody has reported that call's not happening. And then, of course, Treasury Secretary Bassett letting the world know tariffs are coming and they're coming everywhere. I'm not just talking his exact words. I'm not just talking Canada, Mexico, and China. We are talking globally. We are going to squeeze trading partners to create new self-sufficient industrial base later in the United States. So the goal is to try to get to. So let's take Calvin Klein, right? Let's take them as the example. How much would it cost to buy Calvin Klein or Tommy Hilfiger if they were producing or forced to produce in the United States, as an example? I mean, Jason, they're already. I mean, these are right. These are premium brands, right? These are things that you pay more because it says Calvin Klein or Tommy Hilfiger. Man, I don't. What a pair of jeans go back to $200-300? I of course, this is my name. By the way, I don't buy that stuff. Right? As you can tell, Jason and I are not fashion plates. So who knows? They already may be $200 or $300, or they're going to be $500 or $600. I don't know, but very interesting. And again, if you think inflation is high now, imagine what it would be if all of these companies truly had to start producing in the United States again. It'd be absolute insanity. But maybe all these government workers, they can find new jobs working in the manufacturing lines. Maybe that could be the trade-off.
Sounds like everything's getting more expensive, Joe. It's a broken record that seems to be getting a little worse every single day.
All right. Well, guess what? Not to be outdone, more breaking news. The U.S. Treasury Department imposing sanctions on Iranian oil to China. Uh-oh. Everybody better get ready. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Thursday. I apologize for the Hunt Brothers stuff. We'll try again tomorrow. If there's more big news tomorrow, we'll push it to Monday. We'll get to it, but too much happening in the world. $20 gold pieces, $28.95. If you buy 5, you get a 10-ounce silver bar. $14,475. We'll get you 5 20s, a 10-ounce silver bar, and we'll throw in the shipping on top of it as well at 800-951-0592. The U.S. Treasury Department today says it is imposing sanctions, alleging that Iranian oil shipments to China are part of Iran's process to develop a nuclear weapon. The sanctions target entities and individuals in China, India, the United Arab Emirates, a bunch of shipping vessels that facilitated shipments of millions of barrels of Iranian oil to China. The oil was shipped on behalf of the Iranian, they could say the Iranian army or whatever according to the Treasury, this is the beginning of the maximum pressure campaign. And the United States is going to be aggressively targeting any attempt by Iran to secure funding, and said the sanctioned companies include Marshall Ship Management based in India with offices in the UAE, Ocean Dolphin Ship Management out of Hong Kong, several other flagships and registered in different countries around the world. So, Jason, here we go. Another ratcheting up here, kind of. Maybe was China targeting, started with Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger in response to the Treasury Department saying, hey, we're going to be blocking or try to block Iranian oil going into China. This thing is, well, here we go. These are all the things that we thought were going to play out, and they're starting to play out.
Yeah, well, and we're only 17 days into the new administration, so these things usually have, even if you're enacting policy quickly, it's usually these things have an effect that can be days, weeks, and months later, right, Joe? So this is just the beginning of it. As more official actions are taken, the totality of its results sometimes aren't felt right away, right, Joe? So we'll keep an eye on it because once again, all of this back and forth and all this stuff that's going on, however you want to look at it, it's all just going to be inflationary. It's going to cost us an arm and a leg to do the simplest of things, Joe. We're our parents, aren't we, Joe? You know how cheap it was back in the. I remember when I was a kid how cheap everything was. You know.
Yeah. I remember when gas was 99 cents, right? You know. Here's the thing. So President Trump trying to soften this a little bit, saying that he would much prefer a verified nuclear peace agreement, which would allow Iran to grow peacefully and prosper. So I guess he's trying to tone it down, saying, hey, I'm more than willing to get rid of all of these sanctions if you just let us inspect those nuclear facilities and you promise not to develop a nuclear weapon. That hasn't worked in the past, but we'll see, right? I mean, I think Trump will do it. I think he's either going to say, okay, I'm going to crush you, or you do what I want. We'll see what happens. Jason and I, we're going to be right back.